Hiya, teacher friends. Are you interested in teaching English on iTalki? Well, you came to the right place. Today, I'm going to talk about how I conduct my trial lessons to students. That's right, you probably have your first lesson reserved and you're scavenging through the internet trying to find the right place to understand how to teach the right trial lesson. And why is that important? Because the trial lesson is the first chance you get to make that impression with your students. And this is the best chance you're going to get for them to book not another class, but maybe another package, and maybe they'll be your longtime students. All right? So you could thank me later. First of all, with my students for my trial lessons, I have developed this over the course of the past 1,700 lessons, but I really had it nailed down after the first 50. The first thing I do, I start off with a little bit of conversation, and after that, we jump right into an activity. Before we start the activity, I do tell them the plan though, and the plan is we're going to do some activities to test your level. After that, we're going to have a short little lesson so you could understand more about my teaching style. And then after that, we're going to have some time just to talk. You could tell me about your goals and we could work on a plan together. So anyway, we jump into the first activity. The first activity is called Questions in a Minute. So basically, I send them a link with a few random pictures and I have them just ask questions about the pictures. Ask any question you could think about. I always model for my students first. So I always give them an example. I find a picture and I'm the first one to ask the questions. So that's very important to make sure you model for your students before they actually jump into it. And this is going to be important in your teaching experience in general. All right. After that, we come back to Skype and we do a little bit of would you rather. I give them a few questions and it depends on the level. If it's a low level student, I might say, would you rather be hot or rather be cold? Would you rather live in Canada or rather live in America? You know, if it's a higher level student, I might ask, would you rather travel to the future or travel to the past? I'll ask more in-depth questions. From there, we'll start off with our first with the actual lesson, right? And I'll explain to them that every class has a lesson. They could choose the topic of the lesson, or every class has a topic, not every class has a lesson. So I tell them that they could choose that topic, or I could choose the topic. This is a really good opportunity to subtly, implicitly let your students know what kind of teacher you are. So find little nuggets, little spaces throughout this trial lesson to kind of let them know about you as a teacher and about what the future will look like in your class. Yeah. So basically I'll say every class has a topic, and today the topic is multitasking. We'll have a little conversation about multitasking. After that, I'll send them a link of pictures of people multitasking. I'll ask them to just simply explain the pictures. What do you see in the pictures? But before I get them to explain the pictures, I will tell them what I'm listening for. I am listening for prepositions. Yeah? This is really important as well to give them a little bit of a focus because, they just met you. You're 10 minutes into the first class of meeting them. This could be a high anxiety moment. So if they're worrying about every single thing that they're doing, that could be a little bit stressful. A lot of students start off their first lesson without that real confidence. Like, you need to give them confidence. So create a safe space. Let them know what you're listening for. Definitely don't be too hard on them. It depends on the level of the student. Again, like if it's a very high level student, I might be a little bit more critical. I never stop my students while they're speaking in the first lesson. Never. I just write the corrections for them in the chat box. If you're going to stop your students in like the first few sentences that they say the first time they see you, some students like that. Some do. But I guarantee that the majority of students don't. And that could be a hindrance in the long term. With that being said, there are many students who like that. If that's your style as a teacher, go for it. But it's just something to keep in mind, right? So anyway, we move through the multitasking pictures, come back to Skype. I give them a few phrases that they could use in multitasking. Usually, I'll do a little role play with my students. I'll say, okay, you're my brother or you're my sister. I'm asking you for a favor. You need to say no, right? So we will kind of go through a certain scenario, make it fun. Then we're done our mini lesson. Okay, so what we've done so far, we've had our first few activities where I assess their skills. I write them a few corrections just so that they understand generally what their weaknesses are, if any. After that, we did a 10-minute short lesson, like a micro lesson on multitasking. You can make it about anything. It could be travel. It could be try to find some activities, try to find some pictures or some games to use right there. And now we have 10 minutes left because it's a 30-minute trial lesson. So what do we do now? I say to my students, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for booking a class with me. I have so many questions for you. I want to learn more about you. But my first question is, why are you here? Why did you book a lesson with me today? That is their chance. That is their stand, their opportunity to talk to you and to tell you what they want, what they expect. You know, from there you could have a little bit of conversation and ask them a little bit more about themselves. And then if you have like a curriculum or some sort of syllabus like I do for my classes, then go through it with them. Send them a Google Doc or send them the link and like let them know, okay, this is what we could work on lesson by lesson. Are there any questions you have, any concerns you have? From there, we finish up with say what you see. Yeah. This is where I get this handy little whiteboard out right here. And I will draw a picture that represents a phrasal verb. So it might be like, sit. Like that one right there. That's sit down. Yeah. And I'll draw a few of those. And that's what closes things out. I'll ask them if they have any questions. And I'll tell them if they have any questions after class, feel free to message me. And that is the fish on the hook, as they say, because honestly, I have taken classes, so many classes on iTalki as a student in the languages that I'm learning, and not a single teacher has done, like maybe 3 teachers have done any activity, any sort of activity with me, of the dozens of teachers that I've booked with. You know, like the ones that actually did activities with me are the ones I remember. You don't have to do activities. A lot of students just want conversation. But I think this is your chance to show your capabilities as a teacher, to show how versatile you are, to show how flexible you are. Get in there. Yeah. You don't have to set up some sort of like really complex grammar routine with like the presentation or like the task-based teaching. You could just make it really, really simple, throw in a few fun activities, and even you don't need activities at all. You could just think of them as segments where you're prompting them, where you're prepping them. So just like would you rather, like is would you rather really an activity? I guess we're working on conditionals, but really I'm just asking them hypothetical questions. But I'm telling them what I am preparing them for. I'm telling them what I'm assessing. We're working on conditionals. I want to assess your ability to use conditionals, to use the second conditional, for example. Yeah? But make it fun. Definitely make it fun. Make it engaging. Show your skills as a teacher. And don't treat yourself as just a consultant, right? Like they're not here for legal advice or something like that. most of the time. They're here to really be in a stress-free environment, to meet somebody who's going to push them, who's really going to motivate them, who's really going to connect and click with them. And I've been able to adapt this recipe, this single formula, to over 100 students who have booked and rebooked classes. Yeah. So if you're getting started on iTalki, that is my suggestion for you. If you have any questions at all, please leave a comment in the box below. Hit that like button or subscribe button. I'm Ryan. Keep smiling.